So here's the thing. I know I'm not in my 20s anymore, unfortunately. Well, I don't know. Fortunate, unfortunate, I don't know. And I'm actually okay with that. But what I've noticed is that more and more people in their early 20s are panicking about aging way before it even begins. So Wrinkle relaxers or Toxins, which everyone knows as Botox, right?
So yes, that's one of the brands of Toxin, but we're not allowed to use those brand names. So we'll call it Toxin for today.
Okay, we'll call it Toxin for today. So everyone knows what we are going to be discussing without saying what we can't say. He who shall not be mentioned. I'm joking. So Toxins before your first wrinkle, preventative treatments, booking toxin appointments at the age of 22. And then you've got TikTok making you feel like if your forehead moves like this, then you're done. That's it. You're way behind. Now, let's be real. Gen Z is not afraid of aging. They are ahead of it. They've got that completely under wraps. They're staying ahead. But in this rush to prevent everything, are we forgetting what healthy, balanced skincare actually looks like? I'm Ashley, skincare and aesthetic specialist and founder of Cosmetology. And this GlowUp, we are going to be unpacking the rise of early wrinkle relaxers or toxins, the pressure behind it, the important difference between injectables and skincare, because they both have a place, but only when used in the correct way. And I'm joined by Cosmetology's very own fabulous medical aesthetic expert and owner of anti-aging art, Dr. Riza Mir. We're going to be diving into everything from why toxins really make sense, how to spot fake injectables, and how to build a skincare first routine that holds its own. Reese, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Only a pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So let's start right at the beginning. What is going through somebody's mind when they book an appointment at the age of 20, 22 for toxins? Before there's even a slight sight, is this a proactive choice or is it coming from a place of fear and insecurity?
You know, genetics and lifestyle is such a funny thing. Somebody with very fair skin, light eyes, blonde hair, who spends a lot of time in the sun is likely to need toxin by 22 because they'll be showing signs of static lines. I think that for most people, they need to have a look in the mirror. They need to wait until they start to get what we call static lines, which is the lines that stay there when you're not moving. If you can do a frown, if you can lift your eyes up, if you can smile, it doesn't matter. What we want to know is, are we already experiencing signs of aging? And the two most important ones are those fine lines that start to form, the static lines.
I saw you pointed at me.
Or, no, pointed at me. Or,
just a joke.
If we start to see downforce, that's when the frown muscle or the jowls or the turkey neck start to pull the face down. As soon as we start to see that, we relax those muscles. Because when you're young and you've got lots of elastin in your 20s, that lifting is a 2-week process. You'll see many posts on our Instagram about that. Later, it will still lift, but it takes longer. So when you're at 80, that same lifting process is an 18-month process.
Wow.
But we help it along. That's 18 months without any other treatments. It's a lot easier to keep a face lifted than to then chase it later. So if our goal is to avoid unnecessary surgeries, then as soon as we start to see that downforce muscle acting.
That's brilliant. And how do you tell the difference between those fine lines and a dehydration line, for example? How would someone in the early 20s be able to identify the difference between the two?
I think if you had to look at the rest of their face, you'll be able to understand that. You're not likely to have dehydration in one little corner of your skin. So when we assess patients, we look at them holistically. And the funny thing is, the least technical way of doing it is sometimes the most reliable, is just to walk in and look at them from far. Because this is life distance. You know, if somebody comes closer, they're already in your space a bit. So we assess patients from this distance, and the things that we can see from here are the things we work on first. So if they overall are dehydrated and need things like platelet-rich fibrin or chemical peels or just a good change of skincare, then that's what we'll start with. We don't necessarily advise just injecting toxin from the beginning for everything.
Absolutely. And if you have a look at social media, it also plays a huge role. For example, on TikTok, everybody is talking about baby tox. You can't go scrolling for more than 5 seconds without baby tox this and baby tox that. So for those listeners who do not know what baby tox is, could you elaborate?
Sometimes we use very low doses of toxin in diverse places. We spread it out. We use it to create a desired effect. But that muscle relaxation is not possible everywhere. For example, in the frown, you can't reduce the dose reliably because what will happen is the weaker side will relax and the stronger side will stay active, and you'll get some kind of warped pulling to the one left or right side.
Sure.
But you can use it to give people a glassy finish.
Okay.
And we use a very dilute version of the toxin, and we inject it superficially and spread it all throughout the skin to stop the muscles around the pores that actually stretch them open. So that gives us a shiny, tighter skin.
So that's a suitable preventative treatment to start with when you start to see fine lines, or is that pre-fine lines?
That's nothing to do with the fine lines.
Okay.
That's actually more for skin conditioning as part of what we would use the platelet-rich fibrin for. When we see the fine lines forming and they are staying even when you're not moving, so they're the static lines, then we do the usual dose. Okay. There's no need or reason to delay the dose or reduce the dose. So the thing with toxin resistance, that's the only possible downside to starting too early, is that it's the number of exposures that determines your risk or increases your risk of becoming resistant to the toxin, which means it works for shorter and shorter and then it stops. And it doesn't matter what the dose is. If you do 2 units or 200 units on a day, that's an exposure. So when you start treating it, you may as well treat it properly.
Okay. So if you're going to start with baby tox, you would do that in addition to doing a general toxins treatment for fine lines, because the one is going to be for conditioning the skin and the other is going to be for relaxing the muscle that causes those lines, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And you were talking about exposure and potential resistance. What could you elaborate a bit more on that?
If you have been doing this for many years, eventually you'll start to notice that it doesn't last as long. And you may need a higher dose. And then that still doesn't last as long. And it gets shorter and shorter because you start to form antibodies. And then it can stop working completely, in which case you need to take a break for possibly 2 years. And sometimes it reverses and you're able to use it again. But for us, the easiest and most reliable way to work around it is to never get there in the first place. So statistically, all we have to do is keep all your toxin treatments to one session. So if you do it once a year, twice a year, you do it all together. You don't split them.
Okay.
Before, we used to do things like do patients' frown and eyes, and then the next time do the lower face to make it more natural for them, to also sometimes for affordability. But now we rather say to patients, wait till you have it all, and then we'll do it together.
Okay.
So that we minimize your number of exposures.
That makes a lot of sense, and that's good logic. So then circling back to starting in your 20s, if resistance is a potential risk, is it really a good idea to start doing toxin treatments in your 20s?
So the value of looking youthful and healthy, you would rather have that now than in your 80s anyway. And some of us may not even live to 80. So it's not some of those, it's kind of like a retirement annuity.
Sure.
Except your kids don't benefit if you don't do it. So I think it's better, look your best now and manage what comes. So if in 10, 20 years time, there might even be a cure. So it's pointless to delay the
wait till the damage is already there. Right,
and
showing
the
away.
sagging and that type of thing. So let's say you used it for lower face and you wanted to stop your face from sagging. If you did become resistant when you turn 50, then you look at your options then. Maybe it would be a surgical, maybe it would be other treatments or machines to tighten. We use a machine called an Endymed that tightens collagen, and biostimulants, which also make collagen and elastin. So there are alternatives, but I would say use the cheapest and most effective, easiest treatments first, in which case it's the toxin.
Would you say that there is an alternative treatment plan that would be more suitable than starting off with toxins, as to reduce the risk of resistance later, so that you can prolong your toxin treatments in your later years?
If you want to reduce your need for the toxin later or now, the only thing that you can really do is to work on the condition of your skin. So we can tighten skin, we can induce more elastin and collagen, use things like the platelet-rich fibrin, the Endymeds, these good skincare products, and just look after your skin and keep it in the best possible condition. That will more effectively prevent things like the fine lines, the dynamic lines converting to static lines. But it's less likely to help us when it comes to the downforce and the sagging, especially for people who clench when they sleep. But I would say still keeping your skin in the best possible condition will reduce or delay the need for those toxins. But once it starts to sag and pull down, it really is a quicker fix to use the toxin.
Let's be clear. We know that toxins are not the enemy. Used in the correct way at the correct time, it's amazing. It really helps with sagging, relax muscles, shapes the face beautifully, but it's not a miracle for everything. Your texture, hydration, breakouts, pigmentation, that's all skincare related. And that's where people often get confused. They're using Wrinkle relaxers and toxins as a one-size-fits-all fix, when really skincare and injectables are meant to work together. Let's talk about the part that nobody wants to think about, but the reality. Fake toxins and unqualified injectors. Why are we still seeing people buying vials online and going to backdoor practitioners for toxin treatments?
I think that we need more stronger policing. People need to take it more seriously. Victims need to report it and make sure that these things become prosecuted. It is a crime. It's assault. If anybody injects you and they are not a doctor or a nurse who's been prescribed to inject you, or a dentist, and in the case of the nurse, they can't do things that require specialized skill. So they're not allowed to do things like toxins or fillers or any of the other types of injectables. If those people inject you, it's a case of assault. You need to lay a charge at the SAPS, and then you need to make sure that it gets pushed forward and that it does get prosecuted and that these people go to jail, because that's the only thing that will stop them. The thing is, it looks too easy now. It looks like I can get into toxins and I can inject people and everything will be fine, because they don't see the real consequence. And I think that once people start to be prosecuted for it and these are publicized, then we'll start to get people realizing how bad it is. The thing is, things like filler can make you go blind. Wow. They can end up in your brain. They can kill you. This has happened in other parts of the world, and it's only a matter of time before it happens here. Mostly when you see it, it's because of unqualified practitioners who are unaware of the risks, of where the blood vessels are likely to occur. And I wrote a paper about the treatment and prevention of filler-induced blindness and strokes. And I went to present it at the Las Vegas Aesthetic Show and in Italy. I've presented it a lot. But the thing is, with this, what we recognized is that in the most qualified hands, with the best products and the best techniques, all we can do is minimize risk. So I give highlights or techniques of how to reduce those risks. But even with me, I know the risk is never zero. We thankfully have never had anything happen like that, thank goodness. But the risk is never zero. And so for somebody to save $1,000 to get it done, to me is just crazy, especially if you're also spending 20,000 Rand on a handbag.
Fair enough.
Because your face,
Or a boo-boo, let's talk about that craze. Come on.
you've only got one face and you don't want to go blind. You don't want to stroke. Simply for a little bit of an improvement. And let's be honest, if you are not artistic and you're not skilled with fillers and toxins, it's not an automatic thing. It's not like you take paracetamol and your headache goes away. If you do not inject these products properly, you are not prettier. You don't look better. You look overfilled. You look false, obviously worked on. And at this stage in the world, you'd rather actually look older than look like you're trying and that you can't do it right and that you're unsophisticated and that you're going to a backdoor injector.
Yeah.
Because people can see that now and it makes you look like an idiot. And I think that when people...
Call it what it is.
When people realize what they're doing to themselves, then they will automatically stop going to these people.
I think people are also not really educated. So you'll have someone who says, oh, my friend is an injector and I go here for toxin procedure. Look how great I look. I look amazing. You should definitely go. So then you'll have my mom, for example, that listens to her friends and trusts that they know what they're talking about and that they're seeing a specialist, and she'll follow along and she'll go for toxin without asking the proper questions, get injected in an awkward spot, have her mouth not be able to close in the right way, now trying to sip on a straw and drool. You know, this is something that has actually happened to her before. And I think it's also not fair to say that all patients are educated enough or informed enough to make the right decision as to where to go. So maybe could you shed some light as to what type of questions they could ask to guide them towards the correct injector, make sure that the person that they're going to is actually qualified and artistic in the correct ways to be able to offer toxin and other injectables?
Well, some of these people are very confident and very capable con men and women. In that, not that they're capable at injecting, but that they're capable of convincing you that they may not be on the HPCSA website. That's just because of some technicality, but they're really a very highly qualified doctor in their home country of Russia or Ukraine or wherever it is that they claim to come from. But the fact is that may be a complete lie. I mean, you can also check on those people's home countries' medical databases. And there's a reason that we have the HPCSA and that foreign doctors have to be vetted and approved to practice in our country. And that's so that we don't have people who are underqualified or who are possessing fake certificates or degrees, pretending that they're able to do this. So it's so many layers that you could be lied to. And I think sometimes people want to believe that they want to believe the best is out there in the world and that people are not con men and con women, or con people.
Con people.
But the fact is they are. And when we post about aesthetic treatments, we make it actually look glamorous. But there is a lot that happens behind the scenes. It's like, when you go to Disneyland, it's all fun and you see all the lights and you see all the characters, but you don't really peel back the wall and see all the machinery and all the expertise and the engineering that goes on behind the scenes. And so what these people do is that they, at face level, may sound like they know what they're doing because they just learn from here and there, but they don't know anything about what's happening on the deeper layers. And if something goes wrong, they're very quick to close the door and run away. You won't be able to find them. You don't have their real names. You don't have their real addresses. And it's easy for them to even sometimes just go back home to their home countries.
Quickly on that point, because we are going to talk about where patients should go to go and have a look or to verify a doctor, to be qualified with HPCSA. We'll get onto that. But on that topic, does a signed consent form stand as your legal standpoint. So for example, if I'm just going to use my mom for an example, she goes for a toxin procedure. She signs a consent that has a waiver and everything goes pear-shaped. And the injector is actually not registered on HPCSA. Does she still have a case or?
No, completely. She has a case because she was lied to. And even if she wasn't lied to and she knew, it's still assault. It's assault. If you take a needle and stick it in someone's face, it's assault. And so she can lay a charge, yes.
Okay, so that's just an example. I'm not saying that that's exactly what transpired, but need to give some form of a reference so everybody can understand what you're talking about.
Something to relate to.
Something to relate to, yes. So HPCSA, is there a website or a contact number or a search? Where can...
Most doctors will have certificates up in their room,
Okay.
an HPCSA certificate with a number. You can search that doctor's name. And the nice thing is the HPCSA cards now, we all carry one. I have one in my wallet, or if they don't have it, they'll have it as a PDF.
Okay.
And it has a QR code. You click on that, it'll take you to the HPCSA website. And I don't think anyone would go as far as to fake that, but you can check the website that the QR code takes you, and you'll know then you are on the real HPCSA website.
Okay. So let's say I haven't seen you yet, and I'm not too sure if you are a legitimate HPCSA certified practitioner. Could I just from my phone go into HPCSA and have a look? Is there a search? Do I just put your details in there? How do I verify it?
There's on the HPCSA website, there's a database of doctors who are registered and qualified. And you'll even find all of the judgments that are against them. You know, if mistakes happen, and doctors are human beings, they can also make mistakes. Those details will be listed there and what the punishment was. And, you know, they will often just redeem themselves. But it's open, it's public record, it's available. There is no cloak and dagger. There's no reason for things to be a secret. Illegally imported products, you don't know what's in them. They could have a sticker that has a certain brand name of hyaluronic acid on them. Inside could be ultrasound jelly. It could be a mix of water and some other, who knows what's in there. It happened recently when it came to people who were injecting themselves with the GLP-1 antagonists.
Don't get me started on that topic.
And so that and the lemon bottle, which is also an unregistered product, people looked into it. What was in there? Sometimes it was insulin. Sometimes it was saline. Sometimes it was unidentifiable product. And so it's the only way to be sure is to buy from reliable, registered, legal suppliers where you know that you have recourse to go back and to, I guess, seek recourse if anything goes wrong.
Because your reputation is on the line. You know, you're a qualified HPCSA practitioner. You've done a phenomenal job building your reputation as a suitable professional for toxins and fillers and all of that. If somebody had to tarnish your name from a bad experience, from a fake product, that would be detrimental to you. So you wouldn't do that. But so I get what you're saying. It's really hard it's not like you can look at the bottle and go, that code is not correct. It's more a case of make sure, to all the listeners, make sure that you log on to HPCSA, go and search the doctor's name, go read the judgments if there are any. Don't be overly critical. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. It's up to you to judge whether it is an excessive amount or not, or if somebody went blind, pretty sure they would lose their license if that was the case.
No, not really.
Not.
So if you have the best of intentions, it's like I say, there's ways we can minimize risk, but there's a chance that it can happen to anybody who's very qualified, has been working for years, and somehow it can happen. Somehow there's an artery in the wrong place and something happens and something, it can end up. Like I say, the risks are minimized, but they're never zero. And so I don't think you would automatically lose your license as a doctor, but it doesn't look good for you. And you yourself, I think the biggest punishment would be the doctors would place upon themselves because they would beat themselves up about, well, if you're a good, ethical, hardworking, real doctor, you would hate that happened to a patient of yours. And that would be the biggest punishment for you. But I want patients to also understand before they come for treatments that there is that risk. And as small as it is, it's not a zero risk. So that type of thing, a doctor can protect themselves with an informed consent form, because you must explain that risk and the patients must accept that risk and they must sign that they understand that risk.
Acknowledgements of that.
I mean, the fact that you can die, the risk is very small, but it can happen. And if you're willing to accept that, then you're likely to have accepted any of these other smaller risks. But it doesn't help for an illegal injector.
Yeah.
You can have the biggest document you would like. You're still committing the crime of assault by injecting somebody pretending to be a doctor.
Sure. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Let's pull it back to the foundations now, skincare. Here's the thing, your Wrinkle relaxers, they'll stop movement, but they're not going to treat dullness, dryness, pigmentation, breakouts, your inflammation. That's why skincare is so absolutely essential. Your actives, your hydration, your SPF, they're doing the daily work that your skin needs in order to function optimally. Skincare protects and rebuilds, and your toxins soften and reshape. Both matter, but they have to work together. So when is the right time? And I know we spoke about this in the beginning as to when you saw certain lines on your face, but when is the right time to consider doing toxins? Is it an age thing? Is it just when you start to see the drooping and those static lines? Is there anything more to it that we should be aware of?
I think we simplify it and we play it by ear and play it by eye. And when you notice those changes or other people notice those changes, that's when you start to work on them. There is no specific number that you need to wait for. I just wouldn't leave it to become a big problem and then try to fix it. That's the thing, is as soon as you start to notice it, you can come in and see us and we'll be able to then advise you on whether you need toxins or other injectables. We use chemical peels. There's a whole host of treatments that we have access to. And each of these things is one is a hammer, one is a screwdriver, and we must use all of them effectively. You can't really try to hammer in a screw. It doesn't work. So you need to identify. It's important that the doctors are able to identify the problem, use the appropriate treatment. And it is like you say, skincare gives us a daily exposure to the active ingredients that we couldn't otherwise get. So they work hand in hand. You can't really take one and
from the other,
expect to get your optimized result. But I would even go further and say it's more holistic. You can't really have a beautiful skin in an unhealthy body. It was one of the things I learned in lecture where I went to the Vegas Aesthetic show.
Recently.
Yes. And it does make sense. If you are not gymming, you're not drinking enough water, you drink a lot of alcohol, you smoke, you don't sleep.
Too much sugar.
You stress. You have sugar, so you have glycation. And then you show up and you say, make me pretty. It makes our job very hard. Versus you look after yourself in all of these different aspects. And then you say, make me pretty. It's very easy. It makes our job much easier because we work holistically.
See, that's the thing with cosmetology. I always try and drive that message. Your skin is an indication of what's going on in your body. So whether it's stress induced, whether it's sugar and diet, whether it's hormones, it will show up on your skin. So if you're looking after your body from within, it sounds so cliche, beauty starts from within, but it's true. It does. Beauty starts from within. You need to look after yourself. And then the importance on the outside is making sure that you are using a moisturizer, a cleanser, a SPF at the very least. Before considering going into your actives and looking at toxins and other treatments.
You are 100% correct. Let me ask you a question then.
Yes.
What are the two universal beauty traits that are appreciated around the world in every culture? What would make you attractive anywhere in the world that you went? Some cultures like a longer neck.
Clear skin, lighter skin, that glass skin.
It's a healthy, clear skin, even skin tone. Not necessarily the color, but the the clarity and the uniformity, and a full healthy head of hair. Anywhere in the world, those are two beauty traits that are universally attractive. And the reason is
Genetics.
It's because we've evolved that way, because it gives you an indication of your holistic health. You can't really fake a full healthy head of hair, and you can't really fake genuinely good healthy skin, because it takes time to do that. So if you look at the length of your hair, how many years did it take you to grow that?
My hair's always been long.
But
I've never really cut it. So it's always, I mean, I trim it obviously, but it's always.
But it's like what, 5 years, 10 years of growth? You needed to be healthy for those years to be able to have hair that long.
Absolutely. Considering the fact that I had 3 children, and that threw me, because anyone who's had a child will know that straight after that first time you wash your hair, or the first few months that you wash your hair, like, oh, this is fabulous. The next minute you're pulling chunks out of your hair and you're like, wow, is there anything left? And it takes a really long time to strengthen it again and
because
for it to grow back. Yes, for the hormone shift.
So these are indicators that speak to our primitive brains, and whether people like to admit it or not, they appreciate that. And it's very objective. It's the same for everybody. You will appreciate it, and you will be nicer to people who have that subconsciously without realizing it. There's a great book, Survival of the Prettiest. In this book, they talk about the different things about aesthetics, about beauty, about health and youth, and about how your income changes based on how you look and how much it does. How much do you think?
How much do I think of what?
Your income changes based on how you look. You are attractive or not attractive.
I would say drastically, because of the type of networking that you can achieve when you're attractive versus what people perceive as not.
It's the equivalent of an additional master's degree.
Wow.
So if you have
ladies and gentlemen out there, you don't need to be smart, you just need to be pretty. No, I'm joking.
Or you could be both.
Or you could be both.
You could have a master's.
Then you're superhuman.
And be good looking.
Yeah.
And then you have the equivalent of 2 master's degrees added to your income. And this is fact.
Yeah.
And people often say, well, that's not fair. Well, it used to be not fair when there was nothing you could do about it. Now it's more fair. It's the most fair it's ever been, because you have access to aesthetic medicine, to skincare, and you can make these changes, and a gym. You have access to gym, diet, aesthetic medicine, and you can actually make an impact on those.
Well,
those
whether
factors.
you have the funds or not, because maybe people can't afford to go to gym, but it doesn't stop you from running around in your neighborhood. And maybe people don't have access to go for professional skincare treatments, but everybody's got data, so you can go online and, educate yourself, or go and watch the GlowUp and understand a bit more about your skin, your skincare needs and wellness needs. There's access, which whether you have the financial ability to be
you must prioritize
on the next level.
If you want to make more money, then the better you look, the more you'll make. And sometimes, again, they say it's unfair, but if you had to look at someone selling cars and you had to track the people selling the cars, you'll find out that the people who are more attractive are selling more cars, not purely because of skill, but because people listen to them. People want to impress them. Customers want to talk to them and want to hear what they have to say, and so they end up buying more. There was another study. Now, all of these things I'm saying sometimes seem contentious, but they're all backed by studies. So this book, Survival of the Prettiest, has hundreds of references where these studies come from. There were some professors marking papers. These professors would never meet these students. But what they did was they put pictures. So first they divided the pictures into attractive and unattractive. And they stuck them on these papers and they sent them to be marked. And they told the professors the pictures were for identification purposes. So they marked them, gave them marks. Then they switched all the pictures. And sure enough, the attractive faces always scored more, always scored higher. It didn't matter who was marking those papers, even though those professors weren't plotting to meet the students and try to impress them. It was purely subconscious on a deep, primitive level of their brains. So it's something that we can't actually get away from.
That's very interesting, very insightful. But where's the line between feeling good, keeping your skin healthy, making sure you have a glow and a full head of hair, and going overboard. So is there a fine line between the two? Because at the end of the day, you want to encourage people to still be confident, but when does it become an obsession?
Well, that's where the art meets science comes into play. That's our motto. And as with any artwork, if you are painting a picture, there comes a point when you step back and you look at it and you know, I'm done. It's ready. It's finished. Or when you're doing a sculpture, there's a time when you stop and you say, that's enough. I'm finished with my sculpture. And we have to do the same thing to patients. Yes, there's always something that can be done. But if someone comes in and says, I still want lips, I still want lips, I still want lips, we have that responsibility. And this is the reason that aesthetics is only meant to be done by doctors and dentists, is because we all took that oath. And we have to say to the patient, this will make you look ugly. You came to me because you want to look pretty, so let me make you pretty, or handsome if you're a man. And if you take advantage of a patient and say, well, fine, I'll just do it for you because it means I get an extra few bucks, it's not very good for anybody. The patient will walk around looking funny and be a bad advert for you because everybody is a billboard.
Absolutely.
You will ruin your reputation. That patient eventually will realize what you've done and won't come back to you. And you would have then broken your oath of not hurting anybody. So it's your responsibility, like a bartender who's supposed to stop people from getting drunk.
Handing them water
job.
shots.
And we have actually sent patients to see psychologists. It may anger them at first, but eventually they'll come back and they'll say, you know what? Thanks for looking after me. You did what you were supposed to do. Because that's my job. Half of it is to show you what you can do. And the other half is to make sure that you don't do everything and go overboard. And so we always also work with patients and their expectations and try to get them to align with what is reasonable and what looks good.
So I think what I want people to remember is toxins and other injectables can absolutely be part of your beauty routine or your beauty journey. But skincare is not optional. It's the groundwork, it's the glow, it's the health behind the beauty. If you don't know where to start, skincare is the safest, smartest first step. That's exactly why we created the GlowGuide, which I still need to introduce you to at Cosmetology. It helps you understand what your skincare needs are. It gives you a custom skin assessment based on a virtual video that you upload and gives you a full in-depth skin analysis from 250 data points. So it takes a whole lot of micro photos of your skin to be able to give a thorough assessment. If you're listening right now and wondering whether you're doing too much or maybe not enough or just don't know where to start, be honest with yourself. Ask yourself the questions. If this episode helped you in any way, please share it. We need more open, honest beauty conversations. If you're ready to build your skincare from the ground up, go to cosmetology.co.za and try out the GlowGuide. It's free, it's easy, and it's designed just for you. If you're considering any wrinkle relaxers or toxins and want to make sure it's done in the safest and professional place possible, we highly recommend Dr. Reza Mir. His approach is ethical, medically grounded, and tailored to what your face actually needs. Nothing more and nothing less. He also offers advanced monthly skincare treatments like your chemical peels, your PRPs, and other professional skincare treatments that you can go to for your routine beyond just your at-home skincare products. Think of it as your skin's reset button. And you can learn more about bookings through cosmetology.co.za. Reez, it's been awesome to have you on the show. I think my biggest takeaway from this is there's no exact time as to when to start toxins. Have a look at those static lines. So ladies and gents, if you smile and you stop smiling and those lines are still there, that's classified as a static line. If your face is starting to droop slightly, that's your static lines. You can start in your early 20s. I'm slightly converted because I was, after this conversation, because prior to I was like, it's a bit much. But now I'm thinking, I think this Gen Z, they're onto something because it's good to look at doing your baby tox for a better, what do you call it? With refining your pores and looking at your skin's consistency and evenness, correct?
Absolutely. You want to start. Everybody's unique. No two people will follow and fall into the same exact treatment plan. We just work exactly with what we see and how the patients respond. Sometimes it is a bit of trial and error. We work and see what works for the patient, and then we figure out what works best for them. So yes, come in, show us what you need, and we'll work from there.
And ladies and gents, most important, please, although your bestie might have been to an injector and everything went smooth sailing, please double, triple check that they are HPCSA registered. Go and have a look. It's easily accessible. If you're not too sure where to go, ask your injector to show you their card or show you the certificate to verify. You can go and look at the RFID link to HPCSA, go read the reviews, go see what this doctor's all about. Don't take chances.
Well, let me tell you, no real doctor will be offended or upset that you've asked for their document. They'll actually sometimes be pleasantly surprised, and they'll be almost excited to show you and be
proud.
Hey, look, here's my oh, it's good that you are so aware and you're taking your health so seriously that you've asked me this question. The only time anybody will ever become defensive, angry, turn you away, change your appointment, delete you, anytime someone does anything like that, it's because they have something to hide. Anyone can ask me, as long as I've been doing this, it doesn't offend me. I'd be happy to show them. I like it. I actually encourage you, make your doctor show you their credentials.
That's brilliant. And tell me, lastly, where can a patient who's had a bad experience, where can they report their experience so that it is recorded?
You can report it to the HPCSA.
Okay.
You can also report it to the SAPS. And I think, we are all, or many of us are part of AMSA, the Aesthetic Medical Association of South Africa. And we have also been directing people as members on what to do. So you can contact them or anyone who's a member of them and take it from there. We are always happy to give guidance, but the HPCSA is the first one. The SAPS is for the assault charges. And it's just, don't be scared and feel bad for them, because they weren't feeling bad when they conned you, when they took your money, when they lied to you. And they won't feel bad if they end up killing somebody, because they'll just pick up and run. So we have to make sure that we protect everybody, because the person that dies tomorrow may be your best friend. It may be your nephew or somebody that you care about deeply. So just like you wouldn't, drink and drive, you must take that responsibility seriously. If you've been affected, report it. Try to get these people out of circulation.
Yes, you want case numbers. This is the important thing. I've dealt with the SAPS before as part of my community, and they keep saying, please, if there's an incident, you must report it, get a case number, because the more case numbers there are, the more relevant the topic is, the more emphasis they put on the safety and precautions, that strict measures that have to be put into place to prevent this from happening.
And also contact your media, put pressure on them to spread the story, post it on social media. Tag us, real doctors. We'll share your stories. We want there to be awareness about how bad it is and how dangerous it is to get injected by someone who isn't registered and is injecting who knows what into your face.
Yes, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of looking stupid, because at the end of the day, like Dr. Mia just said, there are con artists out there that do a really good job at conning. So get the message out there. And if you want any more information or you have any questions for Dr. Mia, please do not hesitate to book an appointment with him. He will make time for you. He will answer all of your questions. Until next time, gorgeous people, stay glowing.
Thank you. Bye.
Cool.